Jerry Tibbet here with the Bearded Buck. And if you watch our show or follow us on Instagram or Facebook, you know that we often use the tagline, it's all about gobbles and grunts, which means we're hunting turkey in the spring, deer in the fall. I think a lot of non-hunters or conservationists or land managers would assume that the rest of the season is the off-season. Well, it couldn't be any further from the truth. We spend the entire rest of the season working on our farm here to create habitat for the deer and turkey on our farm. Any land manager, whether you're managing 5 acres, 50 acres, or 5,000 acres, knows that food, water, cover, and low hunting pressure are keys to keeping game on your property throughout the year and ultimately providing you hunting opportunities during the hunting seasons. Today I'd like to talk to you guys a little bit about food plotting, and I want to talk about diversification in your food plots. And by diversification, I'm not talking about the 500 different seeds that are available through all the top brands that are out there. I'm talking about the diversification between annual and perennial food plots. Some of you might not be clear on annual versus perennial. Well, as the name entails, for annual, it's a crop that you plant and usually only has a lifespan of 1 season, going to seed head and dying off. Whereas perennial is a plot that you can plant and usually get a lifespan of 2 to 5 years depending on fertilization, lime rates, mowing, and herbicide use. Here at the Bearded Buck, we like to have a mixture of approximately 65% of our crops in perennial and the other 35% in the annual crop. Some of the perennial plants that we like to plant, such we're standing in it right now, is clovers, chicory, and alfalfa. Having the right mixture of annual and perennial plants on your farm will let you cover the nutritional gap that the whitetails and the turkeys need throughout the season to always have something palatable available to keep the animals on your farm and not your neighbors. These perennial plants are very important for us during the early spring and summer to cover the nutritional gap that the deer need during the growth and development stages. However, in many parts of the country, these perennials fall into dormancy and provide little to no nutritional value in late summer to fall. So this is where we need the annual plants to cover that nutritional gap heading into fall and winter, and also to provide us with those awesome hunting plots. Some of the annuals that we like to plant both cool season and warm season are members of the cereal grains, wheat, rye, and oats. Some of the annual clovers such as crimson and arrowleaf, and obviously the brassicas that everybody loves to see in there in the fall for hunting plots, rape, turnip, kale, radishes, sugar beets. All of these we get in the ground to cover that nutritional gap at the most important time of the year when we want to try and squeeze a trigger. In many parts of the country, an awesome annual is the corn and the soybeans. For us here at the Bearded Buck, our deer density is so high, we plant very little corn and soybeans because we would have to take up our entire field putting in corn and soybeans with them not getting overbrowsed to actually have anything available for the fall. It's important to note that some of these warm season annuals will provide food and nutrition throughout the summer and fall, but after a hard frost could die off and not be available for a winter food source. And that's where our cool season annuals take over, providing the nutrition and food throughout fall, winter, and actually into the following spring. So there you have a little bit of the thinking process that goes into our diversification of our food plots. And I'm sure with a little bit of planning, you too will be able to come up with the right ratio of annuals to perennials for your farm. Well, I think now you have a basic understanding of annual versus perennial, but I need to mention that any well thought out plan will fail without a proper soil sample. Liming and fertilization rates are super important to get the yield that you're looking for out of your crops. Well, I hope you found some of this information useful today, and best of luck to you all this fall. In closing, I'd remind you that we always say that our way isn't the best way, or for that matter, the only way, but it is the way that has worked for us here in the Bearded Buck Farm for the last 20 years. Look at the mass on that deer.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, way to go, honey.